Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Prosperity Through Multifamily Real Estate Investing podcast. As always, I'm your host, Real Estate Cody, and with me, joining me yet again is the coffee connoisseur himself, Mr. Brian Alfaro. What's up, bud?
Cody, good morning. Nice to see you again. Excited about the show today and excited about quarter 4 coming up here in 2021.
Man, it's a busy start, right? Already, man. We've got best and final rounds. We've got offers coming out of the wazoo. It's exciting time right now.
That's right. It's an exciting time to be in real estate.
Yeah, it sure is. It sure is. Well, I'm equally as excited for the show today. So tell the audience who we're talking to today.
Absolutely. Today we have Miss Edna Keep joining us for the show today. Edna Keep is a real estate millionaire, coach, and author of Multiple Ways to Wealth. Her passion is helping real estate investors around the world make millions while investing in real estate. She currently owns over 600 doors valued at $65 million in real estate and has done everything from single family homes to now focusing exclusively on multifamily. So Edna, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks so much for having me, guys.
Absolutely. It's an honor to have you here. We're looking forward to learning more about you and your background. And for those who can't see you on the screen, if they're just listening in car, it looks like you got some pretty cool style going on. You got the pink hair. I love it. But hey, tell us a little bit more about your background, Edna.
Sure. So I got introduced to real estate in 2007. All we'd ever done before that was just own our own home. And we did attempt to take over my daughter's property at one time when she moved out of the city and left it behind. But we couldn't see the value, didn't understand real estate at all. And so I was working as a financial advisor when I was introduced to real estate. I had people coming in to take money out to put in real estate. And I'm going, really? You want to do that? So one of my clients said, Edna, you really should check real estate as a diversification for yourself. And that's what got me very first started.
That's cool. And Brian and I, we've been fortunate enough to have a couple of financial advisors on both on the show and in our network that we've talked to, and very similar to you, where you start understanding the power of diversifying and kind of getting out of the equities markets and seeing the power of real estate as a true wealth building tool, right?
You know what? I was so convinced. I sold my financial planning practice 2 years after I started and got into real estate full time. I found I couldn't even sell. I sold mutual funds, life insurance. I found I couldn't even sell mutual funds once I really understood the power of real estate.
Yeah, well, that's exciting. That's good. Of course, we would probably share the same biased opinion, right there, Brian?
That's right. That's right.
Awesome. Well, Edna, tell us a little bit about your first introduction then into the real estate world. What was your first investment like? I guess, what drew you into the space and then how you got your start.
Well, we were introduced through the Robert Kiyosaki group. We attended a 3-hour evening and then a 3-day weekend. And at the end of the weekend, we signed up for a year-long program with them, which included some one-on-one coaching and just training on different ways to be involved in real estate, because we really didn't know. We took wholesaling and lease options and commercial and land development and creative financing. Creative financing was my favorite. And so that was in June. In September, we bought our first property. We bought 2 condos. And the very first condo I bought, my oldest daughter actually happened to be living in it as a rental. And when they put them up for sale, they did a condo conversion project. And I still remember walking up to the door with my realtor, and he says, yeah, these just came up for sale. They're selling them out as individual condos now. And I went, wow, is that one for sale? And because that was the one my daughter just moved into like maybe a month before. And he looks on his list. He goes, as a matter of fact, it is. And I said, okay, well, I'll take that one then. So we bought that condo because we were scared of everything when we started, guys. Tenants, toilets, roofs, furnaces. Like we kept thinking of everything that could go wrong, right? And a couple of weeks later, because they were newly condo converted, they had some challenges getting everything set up, and we were setting up a corporation. But anyway, my daughter got to meet the neighbors who lived there for 17 years. And I went, okay, well, I'll buy that one too, because then I got a built-in tenant. And then they moved out a couple months later. They ended up buying their own place. But by then we were hooked, and we were very happy with that purchase. We went on to buy 50 doors within 18 months, with our last one being a 24-unit apartment building. And that was when we really, really hit our stride. And I could see what could happen. We actually condo converted that 24 unit building. We paid $75,000 a door and condo converted it, sold it out between 120 and 140 a door. And that was in late 08 that we bought it. So it took us over a year to make that happen because we had to go through the condo conversion process and get everybody's approvals and stuff. And that was when I went, okay, 50 doors in 18 months. We knew we'd done something. We had about an $800,000 net worth increase, $5,000 a month in cash flow. And it was like, wow. And so that's when I decided to sell my financial planning practice and go into this full time.
I love it. I love the progression, the rapid progression through the multiple different strategies and coming across that. The condo conversion, that was a pretty popular strategy in that time frame. I remember I was just getting into real estate, and that was a really popular strategy a lot of people were pursuing. But real question, what did your daughter feel about you becoming not only her mom, but landlord as well?
You know what? She actually liked it. She came on and one of our very first partners when we bought that 24 unit apartment building, they were property managers. That was the class they took in Robert Kiyosaki's group and decided to focus on. So she started actually working for them shortly after that. And so she became our property manager, like as their employee, but she looked after all our stuff through indirectly through them.
That's really cool. I love how the world turns and how things work out. But Brian, listen to Edna's story, or at least the beginning. It's really cool to see, when people start to realize the power of economies of scale, right? From going from the single unit residential space into multi-unit, even at small multifamily levels, like you just get such faster economies of scale or bigger economies of scale that really just help you accelerate your growth, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I love your story, Edna, how you took that it sounded like you took a little bit of a leap of faith. You said you had a lot of concerns, right? Tenants, toilets, roofs, all that stuff. But even though you had that in the back of your mind, you did it anyway. Because I would bet that you would say that you would not be where you're at today if you didn't buy that first property, that first condo, that first, single family house, like a lot of people do. It sort of starts the snowball effect, and the rest just, becomes history. You start growing from there.
You know what? Absolutely right. And, there's a few key things that took some of that fear away for us. And one was we had a coach that came with the program, and she walked us through the purchases. She walked us through a lot of stuff. And then through her, we met one of our business partners who we ended up doing, I don't even know how many doors, over 100 doors together. But they had taken the same course as we did 2 years prior to what we did. And when we met them, they owned 20 houses. And so they took a lot of our fear away about getting in the market, because we understood, like we got to hear the stories of what they'd been able to do. And when we put that 24 unit contract building under contract, I walked into my realtor's office and I was telling him, we want to buy 20 more houses this year, because we'd done 20 in the year before. And he said, Edna, why wouldn't you just buy a multifamily? And I went, I can't. I don't own enough houses. That old monopoly way of thinking. I really thought I couldn't. And I find a lot of people think, well, they just can't. And he said, oh, yeah, you can. So I sat there, I said, tell me more. And then, so he told me more, kind of told him some of the stuff he'd been working on. He owned apartment buildings. He actually went through the condo conversion process for himself and a couple of his people. And I said, well, yeah, you know what, that sounds interesting. I said, so you'd help us if we found one? He said, oh yeah, I'd help you. And I said, well, do you happen to have one? He said, as a matter of fact, I have a 24 unit right here that's going to be listed tomorrow. And I said, okay, well, what can we do to make sure it doesn't get listed? Like I said, what do I have to offer in order to get it? And he said, you'll have to offer full asking price, because that was what was happening in that market. And so he wrote it up, and I wrote the offer up before I left his office. Educated, wrote it up all in the same couple hours. And then, we took possession a couple months later and never looked back.
Brian, did you catch all the common themes there? Having a coach, having the right partners, ready, fire, aim, and just taking action, man. It's the key to success, man. There's no magic formula. It's just going down the path. I love it. And one thing else to highlight too, and I didn't really catch on to it until we were just talking, is you were doing this in 2008, 2009, That was the heart of the financial crisis. I mean, real estate market took a tremendous pounding during that time frame. I know because that's how I got my start. So,
Yeah, well, in the US it did, but in our province, which is Saskatchewan, we were actually going through a really good market cycle. So we had bought our house in 2002. In 2007, we refinanced it and pulled some equity out in order to buy those first few condos. Our house had almost doubled. And our economy did not get hit like the US did with because of all those, the way the mortgages are run. It was always way more strict in Canada on getting mortgages. When we did look in the US at the time because of all the bargains, but we couldn't get financing. So unless you had cash, you couldn't buy anything. And if we bought one or two properties, we were dead in the water after that. So we ended up coming back home and focusing locally.
Interesting. Not to get too far off of our focus here, but how is the Canadian real estate market different from the U.S. markets right now in today's time?
Well, you know what? That's a good question. We're actually buying in the US right now. So our last 178 units, which isn't listed in my bio, that brought us to 778 doors. We bought 178 units in Memphis, Tennessee in March. We got a really good deal, $21,600 a door. We'll probably put in about $16,000 a door, and then we should be able to refinance out between $55,000, $60,000. We thought we could get rents at around get our rents up to $600. We got our rents up to $800. So we're really happy with that. But we bought it with cash to start with, and then once we get it set up, all the renovations and rent increases and stuff, then we'll finance it at that time. So yeah, we're actually, because we find our market a little bit high. Now, with that said, I do have a number of students that are buying, but specific provinces, because some of the provinces are just really, really, really high priced right now.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I think we're realizing the same thing here across the U.S. markets, but we're faced with the significant challenge of a significant supply shortage, right? I mean, we are just not able to keep up with the housing demand. And yeah, economically, we're still going through this recovery, and there's still some things that are looming, but nonetheless, it's a great time to be a real estate investor here in the States if you can find that right opportunity. So that's exciting.
Yeah, it is. Yes.
Awesome. Well, let's rewind, Edna, because I want to go back to the conversation about, again, the economies of scale, realizing when you got that 24 unit, I think you mentioned that, you were doing the condo conversions and whatnot. And then you started, all of a sudden you see your net worth growing, you see your cash flow growing, and it was kind of like the light bulb moment. What happened after that? What was the transition or the thesis moving forward then?
Well, we still kept buying a couple more houses, all in joint ventures, because we couldn't get financing anymore. We were past our limit. But we started focusing more and more on apartment buildings, and all our purchases since have been multifamily, and all smaller multifamily. Even though one of our large purchases, which was in 2012, was 144 units at one time, it was 4 different buildings. And it was in a very small area that a lot of people wouldn't even consider, population 3,000 people, but also gateway to the north in our province. So not much for new homes being built there. It was a very strong rental economy, and still is. We still own those properties to this day.
Awesome. So the focus is still then, like you said, the smaller multifamily right now. I know you mentioned you had a big purchase here in Memphis, but overall, your typical strategy is to focus on the smaller multifamily.
Yeah, it was until we got to the stage where we could make the larger purchases. And even then, when you think about what we actually paid for it, we've paid more than that for a 40 unit complex here to get 178 units. So that's kind of interesting too.
Yeah, for sure. Brian and I talk about this often. Our focus is a larger properties for the reason that we mentioned, right? The economies of scale. Right? Things typically get easier as they get bigger. And so we like that. But there's something to be said about the smaller multifamily, right, Brian? We talk about like some of those small multifamilies, they can be really good cash cows. I mean, now there's a little bit more involvement as far as the hands-on management, but and a lot of people are finding a lot of success in the smaller multifamily and whatnot. So what do you think?
Yeah, you've got correct me if I'm wrong, Edna, but you've got a slightly less sophisticated seller pool. You know, it's a lot of mom and pop owners that either were accidental landlords or maybe they purchased it, but they just don't really understand the value of what they have anymore. And they haven't invested a lot of capital expenditures, you know, CapEx into their property. So you're finding these, even though it's 10, 15, 20, 30 units, you're finding these properties that need significant renovations, but you have these massive opportunities for rent bumps, you know, $200-$300 a door. That's a little bit harder to find in the more sophisticated space when you're dealing with 150, 200 doors where, you know, there's big companies that own them, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that's where we've really found our sweet spot in our own area. There were a lot of landlords that had owned these buildings for a really long time, and they hadn't put the money back into them. They had, you know, let things get run down. So when rents started to increase, which they really did, like I still remember that first 24 unit we bought. The average rent in there was $425 a door in a market that was $800 minimum, and we started getting $1,200. For the 2 bedrooms. But they were, you know, they paid a low price. They'd held on to it for years and years. They had no debt on it. And they were tied to their tenants. You know, they really wanted to be good to their tenants. And so there was, lots of opportunity for upside. We bought many properties where we went in already fully occupied. So it took us a little bit longer, like even the 144 units we bought. We refinanced that in 3.5 years, fully paid our investors out, and you know, even got a big payday ourselves from the refi and the loan proceeds. But the key there was we had to get in, we renovated. Every time somebody moved out, we renovated, we increased the rents, renovated, increased the rents. And we did that on several of our buildings and really did well. And we're able to refinance at a really good price too, and still cash flow.
Always exciting time when the formula works, right?
It is.
Well, you know, looking back, I mean, again, that was 2008, 2009, 2010. And, you know, going through this last decade of just incredible appreciation, you know, we're still expecting some significant appreciation here over the next few years. But I think that it's getting harder and harder to really find those true value add opportunities, maybe those first generational value adds or, you know, those untouched assets that are mom and pops. So are you still finding a lot of these opportunities in today's marketplace?
In our area, yeah, we are. Yeah.
And what's your strategy? Are you doing direct to seller? Are you going through brokers?
We try to as much as possible. We've actually got most of our deals privately. And that's what I teach my students too, because, you know, there's 2 things. One is, when you're an owner, you do not want a big for sale sign on your building. Scares your tenants. You know, I still remember walking through the buildings with their owner and they'd say, hey, you're just a cleaning lady, or you're just the maintenance guy or whatever. They don't want you to know that you're looking at selling your building. It has to happen very quietly. All of a sudden there's a sign, hey, we own your building. This is who you pay your rent to. So we see a lot of that. People do not want their tenants disturbed at all. And then they also, there's quite a commission to pay if you go through a realtor office, and you know, they'd rather keep some of that themselves and give you a break to do it privately. We've also got lots of private financing on deals, like from our vendors, our sellers, and so when we get to talk with them one-on-one, it makes so much more sense.
Awesome, very good. And I want to go back to you. We're going to kind of shift gears here. We're going to kind of bounce all over, Brian. Let's just go with the flow here. But, you know, going back to your most recent purchase in Memphis, you mentioned that you had bought that one all cash. And, you know, most of us in the real estate world know that, you know, other people's money, right? That's the power of leverage and using other people's money. What was the decision making for buying that one all cash versus using leverage or debt?
Well, for one thing, it wasn't really financeable at the time because the fellows who had owned it, I believe it was doctors, if I remember correctly, they had, you know, left it all to private management, property management, and just never overseen it. So it really got run down. They didn't put any money back into it. It was highly vacant. So it really was not financeable in the condition that it was. So we raised capital and bought it cash, and then of course we're still in the process of getting it all fixed up and refinanced up. But we also focus on workforce housing. So we don't do anything fancy, and like there's no pools, there's no granite countertops, none of that. It's just straight workforce housing. And we feel like there's a really big need for that. We already have people lining up to move in. They see the work being done. They're loving it. The neighborhood's a good neighborhood. It's like a whole revitalization project. And we're getting good. We got some tax breaks on it from the city as well, because they knew it needed some TLC. So that was another incentive for us. But yeah, just buy cash, renovate, and then we'll refinance when the time comes.
Excellent. Brian, I think there's a really big need, as you mentioned, Edna, for the affordable housing space right now, because with what we're seeing in the affordability gap across all of the United States, right, where median home prices are steadily climbing week over week, month over month. You have rents that are escalating because of the inflationary period that we're in, which as investors ourselves is a great thing, but it's making it harder and harder for the workforce housing demographic to really keep up, and wages are not keeping up with the inflation that we're seeing. And so I really think that there's a huge void to fill in the affordable housing space, right, Brian?
Yeah, and we hear this all the time, right? They don't make workforce housing anymore. It's pretty rare that you see a new development going up that's designed to be workforce housing. Most of it's going to be A-class stuff that you're seeing being built with much higher rent. So a very large percentage of Americans still need to live in a nice, clean, affordable place to live. And if you find opportunities with these properties, I mean, that's our job as real estate investors, just to find these opportunities, find a way to create value, not only for the investors that are partnering with us, but also just to provide a better product for the people that need it. Because everybody deserves a clean, safe place to live that doesn't need to necessarily have, like you said, granite countertops and all the bells and whistles, but it needs to be taken care of, and it needs to have good property managers, good customer service, and just a good overall living experience.
Exactly. Yeah. And kept up too, because when you're getting good cash flow, you got to put some of it back in your building, keep it up nice, because otherwise you're going to end up in trouble like the last guy did,
And Cody and I kind of laugh. You mentioned, we were laughing at each other, but you mentioned doctors. It seems to be a reoccurring theme that a lot of the great opportunities come from doctors that have owned properties for 20, 30 years and sort of taken their eye off the prize, and are now, they don't have any debt. They're cash flowing great, but they're leaving a lot of opportunity for us real estate investors. So maybe a marketing strategy for your people that are going direct to sellers, find the doctors, right?
Yeah. It's unfortunate, but they're busy professionals.
That's right.
And most of the time they're kind of convinced that it's a great place to put their money, because it is. But instead of partnering, because that's our philosophy, partner with people like us with your money, and then we'll look after it. They get told, and I think sold a bill of goods. Oh, you can do it yourself. You can, hire property managers, but it's more than that. It's not just property manager, it's asset manager. And you need an asset manager to look after that, which, a good partner could be, as opposed to hiring property managers, because property managers don't care. They don't care. In a lot of cases, if you're not on top of them, they treat you like you're an ATM. We need more money today. Let's go fix that building, and if you're not on top of it, you can totally get taken advantage of.
Yeah, I think what people fail to realize with real estate is it's not like investing in a stock where it can be passive, but it's a business. It's legitimately a business. It has customers that come in every day and have expectations. So if you're an investor and you want the benefits of real estate, we're biased, but I would argue the best opportunity for you is to partner with people like you, Edna, partner with people like us, and let us do all the heavy lifting and the hard work, so we can make sure the business is operating at its highest and best use and capacity. Because real estate is, as we the three of us know, it's definitely not passive. It's a very hands-on business. You have to hold people accountable, and it's a business. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I would tell people it's kind of a misnomer when they say passive, because it's never really passive. It can be passive for your investor, but somebody's got to be active.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It is a lot of work. It is a lot of work. And that's the unfortunate thing is we talk about the buildings, the real estate itself, but to me, that's almost the smallest part of it. It's everything that comes along with it, especially in the multifamily space. When you're talking about scaling, Brian, you're absolutely right. You're operating a small business. And most importantly, you have a responsibility to people, both your investing partners and the people in your communities, your residents and such. And so that's a big responsibility. And, I think a lot of people, unfortunately, they fail to understand that just how significant that workload is and that responsibility is. until they get into it. But that's what people like us are here for, right? Is to
Exactly.
hopefully educate, but also pave the way and partner with you and take that burden off. So very cool. Well, Edna, I think it also ties into another theme that we've really been focused on as of late is I think moving forward in this decade, again, with yields getting tighter, valuations continue to climbing. We're seeing a lot of cap rate compression across all markets. Don't matter if it's primary, secondary, tertiary. You're really entering in the age of really just operational excellence, right? I think the decade of the operator, the asset manager is really going to be key, I think, moving forward. What do you think about that comment?
I totally agree with you, and that's why you got to have the people who know what they're doing too, and I know with you guys, you're probably educating yourselves all the time. What's the best way? What's the just recently, one of my students is a property manager, professional property manager. She works for another company, manages like 750 doors. When you're working at that level, there are things that come up on a scale that the little guy can't just generally doesn't even hear about. So just listening to her talk about all the things that they've incorporated, like insurance. Somebody doesn't quite have the best credit score. There's an insurance program that you can buy where the tenant pays another $30 a month, and then the landlord's guaranteed to have the rent paid or cover off challenges if they've damaged and different stuff like that. Well, up until I heard her talk about it, I didn't even know there was that kind of, our property managers might, but I don't question them that close. But there's stuff coming out all the time. Even we had to go through a big shakeup with insurances lately because we kept getting our premiums going higher and higher and higher. Well, we had to regroup and find somebody who was more decent. Like there's always stuff that you got to be working on.
Yeah, we know that pain all too well over here in the coastal areas, right, Brian?
That's right. Yeah, insurance here is insane.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But yeah, I agree with you, Edna. It's there's so many dynamic pieces that come along with the asset management piece that's so important. And we just alluded to this last week, I think, on the show, or 2 weeks prior, that one hiccup or one bad month can really affect your overall operations, and it could take a while to kind of catch up. So it's important, like you said, to really stay on top of your KPIs, really stay on top of your property management team, and be hands-on. You have to be involved in your business in order to make sure that it's succeeding. And again, like I said, ultimately you're protecting not only your interests, but your investor interests, right? I would assume that, you have your partners, you have investors that are partnering with you on the passive side. You have a fiduciary responsibility to make sure that you're monitoring these things, so that way you're protecting, their interests as well. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, Edna, tell us a little bit more. Let's switch, because, obviously you've been around for some time, many, many years. You've gone through multiple strategies. Now you have, your success in the multifamily space. I think you mentioned 800 units now, or close to it. So that's no small feat by any means. And now you're educating others on how to do the same. Talk to us a little more about your education program and kind of the motivation behind that.
Sure. You know what? It kind of came about organically. I didn't get into the business thinking I was going to get into coaching, but people kept asking me. First of all, right at the first training sessions we took when we had our 50 doors, people would say, "How the heck did you grow so fast? I'm still struggling to buy, my fourth building or my fifth, or, house, not let alone an apartment building." And there was a few things that I noticed that people were doing. Well, I call it stepping over dollars to pick up dimes. They would do their own property management and fix the toilets and all that kind of stuff on the weekends, and they just totally got burned out and so busy that they couldn't even think about buying more buildings. So that was one thing that we avoided right from the beginning. We hired property management. We partnered with a property manager, so it was off our plate. We never intended to go into real estate full time, so we needed to do as much passively as possible. And people just kept asking, "How'd you do that? How'd you do that? How'd you do that?" So that's kind of how I ended up educating people. First of all, it was just friends helping friends, and then I realized I needed a more structured program, so I set up my program called 90 Days to 5K. And that program, the premise there is, in 90 days, you'll understand the strategy of what it's going to take for you to be making $5,000 a month in, and again, not so passive income, but recurring cash flow. And most of my students are hitting it between 12 and 18 months. We did it in 18 months, but now I have taught a system that helps them do it quicker. And have you guys ever played that Robert Kiyosaki game, Cash Flow 101?
Yes.
Yeah. So you know how in that game, when you are in the rat race, buying your, properties, and you get your key is, and I love Robert Kiyosaki's definition of financial freedom. It's when your recurring income is higher than your day-to-day expenses. So when you hit that number in that game, you flip your board, and it's not the game board, but your board where you're tracking stuff, and you're out of the rat race. And for us, that 5,000 a month was kind of our key number. Like, we thought, man, if we could get to 5,000 a month in 18 months, what the heck could we do if we were doing this full time? So that's kind of where I came up with that number, because that was our goal. So the premise is in 90 days, you'll understand the strategy. And then of course there's work involved. You got to be working on your business 5 to 10 hours a week. And then, like I said, most of my students are hitting it between 12 and 18 months. I've had students get as high as 100 doors in 18 months working with me. The biggest key, buying those first few. Once you bought 1, 2, 3, then you can rinse and repeat. But you still got to get edgy. You still got to stay on top of your game. You still have to be part of networking groups. You have to be around people who are active. So you're learning all these new things, like the different property management strategies, the best bang for your buck when it comes to BRR, like everything. You have to stay involved in your education. It's never that your education is over. It's always what's next. If you're looking to scale a business, it's always what's next. I work myself with 3 coaches at any one time. And a lot of people don't understand that. But, I have some stats for you guys. You got to hear this, because this is so interesting. If you earn less than 100,000 a year, you have 0 coaches. If you earn 100 to 250,000, you have 1 coach. If you're in 250,000 and 500,000, you have 2 coaches. And if you earn $1 million or more a year, you have 4 or 5 coaches. And it's absolutely true. If you look around and start asking your friends, have you ever had a coach? No. What's your income? If they'll tell you, under 100, correct. You just start looking at your own. When did I hit that 500K mark? When, you know what I mean? And when you look at that, you start to think, yeah. And what a good coach will do for you is really shorten your learning curve and help you and coach you through. We can a lot of times see other people's blind spots that they can't see. And of course, 14 years in the business for me makes such a difference. Like, I've been there, done that, seen so many things. And instead of struggling through it, sometimes a 15-minute conversation with your coach just gets you going and moving and get you moving forward. So mindset, I think, is a really big part of it, which your coach can help you with. I work with the mindset coach because I always think new level, new devil. Whenever you're growing as a person and doing something out of your comfort zone, you have to grow. And sometimes it's painful, isn't it? It's not easy. And if you have somebody going, you can do it, you can do it, you can do it, I did it, if I can do it, you can do it, it's a lot easier than, all the fellow employees that go, you can't do that. What makes you think you can do that? Who told you can buy an apartment building? And because there's all this negativity out in the world, and you got to be in a protected space. Trillionaires move to islands, it's to protect their space, right? It's like that. Why are gated communities come up? Protect their space. Protect this space. That's the biggest thing you can do for yourself, is protect what goes on between your ears. And, listening to the news and listening to COVID and all this stuff, you can't live there and actually build a really successful business. You have to get beyond all that chatter and crap that goes on a day-to-day basis to be able to grow.
Yeah, I think we would absolutely agree with you there. And we talk about the mindset quite a bit, because to me, that's 80% of this business is all between the ears. It's all the mindset, because it is a hard business, like we alluded to, right? It's a lot of work. It's a lot of responsibility. There's a lot of oh crap moments, a lot of butt puckering moments where it makes you, you get outside of your comfort zone and you're like, oh, I'm putting $100,000 hard on an offer. And I'm like, that's money that you're never going to see again if things go wrong. So it's, getting uncomfortable daily is something you got to get used to, and you get a lot of no's, a lot of highs. And there's just a lot of emotional roller coaster that comes with this business. And if you don't have that mental fortitude to be able to stick it out, like you said, you're going to get fatigued and you're going to get out of the business before you really find that momentum or that success. And, Brian, anything to chime in? I know, because, we both come from the mindset transition, in our past. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. Everything Edna is saying is spot on for my personal belief as well. I mean, coaching is so important to us as a group, and we know it's definitely helped our progress. And the idea of coaching is always a funny topic because what you said, Edna, is, I actually thought was very interesting. I'd never heard that, ask somebody who makes, $100,000 or less if they have any coaching, and it's usually no. But I think you're pretty right, because most of the people that I've met do have multiple types of coaching, and they're constantly looking for new masterminds, new groups to be a part of, just constantly expanding their network. Because at the end of the day, if you want to be successful, you have to be vulnerable at the same time. You have to allow somebody to you have to look at yourself in the mirror, and you have to allow somebody else to look at you and say, hey, I know I know the walls you're hitting, and I can help you run through them or jump over them. And having that coach there to support you and guide you, it's worth every penny. And to us, we really value coaching, and I think that's a great way to look at it. It's just kind of looking around your circle and finding the successful people and just ask them if they have a coach. And I have not yet to meet a successful person who did not have a coach somewhere in life.
Even as a financial advisor, I hired my first coach in 1999. And I sold my practice in 2009, but my first coach, 1999, Dan Sullivan. Do you guys know him? He wrote the book, Who Not How, just recently.
Yep.
But he was my very first coach. And it was huge for me. It was huge. You had to be earning 100,000 a year to even get in. And then he had different levels, 250,000 a year, 500,000 a year, $1 million and above at that time, back in 99. And I've never been without a coach since. And people say, well, how did you get there? Well, that's how because they absolutely can short circuit your learning curve. And I hire different ones. Like, I don't stay with one for, the whole time frame. That worked. That was awesome. Okay. Now it's something else. Okay. And I always look for a coach who's been there, done that, has t-shirt. I don't need a cheerleader, like there's cheerleader coaches out there who go, yeah, you can do it. It's awesome. Yeah, I don't need that. I'm very motivated and driven in the first place. I need knowledge. People who can take me from here to here. Even mindset. I need knowledge. I need somebody who's built a, $400,000 a month business to teach me to get to the next level. I don't need somebody who's, done 50,000 already. You know what I mean? So every time you're going for a new goal, sometimes you're up leveling your coaches too.
Yeah, 100% agree. And so, Edna, with that in mind, speaking to the audience, if we have anybody listening today that might be hearing this message for the first time, or maybe just getting started in their journey, what's your message to them about where to start? Do they have to start in single family or residential? Can we go straight to multifamily? What's the advice you would give to the new entrepreneur getting started?
I believe you can go straight into multifamily. I've actually taken a couple of young kids locally, 19 and 20 they were when they started with me, owned 72 doors within 2 years of working with me. But it's a mindset shift, and not everybody can do it. They're stuck. They think, it's pretty easy to just go out and buy another house because you probably own a house already, buy another one, put a tenant in it. How hard is that, right? But multifamily is a little bit different. I say you have to be coachable, first of all, not just try to jump in it by yourself and you don't know anything. I have had people approach me saying, the realtor tells me I have to put 35% down on my building. And in a short conversation, I can show me, no, you don't. And, and whether it's even worth pursuing, like different things like that. But the key is you have to know your stuff. You can't just willy-nilly, be presenting stuff. And I'm going to give you an example. The other day it was on Facebook Messenger. I had a guy send me. He said, Edna, if I found a deal, blah, 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 and I could pay you out. I can't remember. He had a little pitch. And I said, yeah, if you found something like that, I'd look at it. And then he emailed me a MLS listing, and I go, you are never going to get an investor sending over an MLS listing. Like, really, I already know that building's listed because I have another student that's looking at it. I said, you need to show and I gave him a few things. He goes, absolutely. But most people don't know. If you send an ML listing over to a potential investor, they're just going to laugh at you. It's like, oh, I could have found that on MLS. Like have to know how to present it. You have to be working with people who are on your team that already own real estate, that, where you can say to your investor, I work with a team of people who own like over $100 million worth of real estate. A team members matter. It's not a single person game when you're dealing with this kind of business.
And that's exactly why we love the multifamily space in particular, is because it is a team sport. It's in a very abundant mindset, and people understand the power of leveraging other people's skill sets and partnerships to really help everybody grow. And there's so many opportunities out there, right? I mean, there's so much opportunity for all of us to grow and benefit from. And I think you're absolutely right. You have to be educated, you have to be persistent, but you have to have the right people around you, most importantly. So definitely agree with that.
Because you can talk yourself out of anything. Or anything if you're around the right people. I've got another stat here you guys might be interested in. In Canada, there's 2.13 million apartment building units. In the US, there's 21.9. There's new deals coming out every day. But you just have to be first of all aware. And I always tell people, are you aware of your reticular activating system? You guys know this, right? Like there's a gland in our brain that watches for us what we're interested in, right? If we gotta filter out a whole bunch of stuff, so it filters out all the noise. That's why you got to have a goal, and a real goal. It says, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna buy a building this year. I'm making $5,000 cash flow. And you think about that goal. Guess what? Deals are going to be put in front of you. Investors are going to be put in front of you. It's if you're focusing on it, you get it. It's part of the universal guidance. It's how divine intelligence works. And it's ingrained right into our own system. Just like if you look for shit and crap every day, guess what? You'll find it, because that's what you're looking for. You're looking for a building every day. Guess what? You'll find it. But if you're one of those people that tell yourself every day, because I've had students like this, and I just can't find a building, and now I can't find an investor. The more you tell yourself, I can't, guess what? You can't. So it's like, I can. I find the most amazing deals. I find the most amazing investment partners. When I need something, boom, it just shows up in my reticular activating system. It's what you choose to focus on in a day-to-day basis. And it's unfortunate, but 90% of the world, and this is an advantage for us, right, guys? 90% of the world or more want to focus on all the crap that's going on in their lives. So that's where they stay.
Yeah, I would argue too, that's getting harder and harder to combat too, because with the accessible amount of data and information and comments and people's opinions on things like social media, you can get sucked into that negativity very, very quickly. So, definitely, I agree with you wholeheartedly. Surround yourself with the right people, like-minded mindset, successful people, and always be working on yourself. And I think that'll be, stay away from all that other nonsense, and you'll be successful.
And
for
how
sure.
much fun that is, right, guys? Like growing and learning and being around people like I get to talk to people like you guys all the time. So much nicer than going to the grocery store and listening to people bitch about the weather and the cost of food. You know what I mean? Like, we get to be with each other, and I thrive in this kind of environment, getting to have great conversations with people like you guys doing the same thing we are. Like, it's absolutely amazing. So yeah, definitely being around like-minded people is one of the best things you can do for yourself.
Yeah, you got to learn to tune out all the noise as well, right? There's a lot of noise in the world, and that's what Cody was alluding to. And I think also learning to focus on yourself in a way that you don't compare yourself to others, right? Like, if you're new to this business and you're looking at somebody like Edna, or you're looking at somebody that's got, $1,000, $5,000, whatever, and going, oh, why is he doing it and I can't? Well, you need to focus on you. Go inch wide, mile deep, put your head down and go to work every day. And they say the harder you work, the luckier you get, right?
Exactly. Get started. The first one's the hardest. Then from there, it gets easier. And you know what? The other thing I've learned is some people think at some point life is going to get easier. It never gets easier. You just got to get better. Do you remember Jim Rohn's quote? Life never gets easier. You just have to get better. So I love that quote. It's like, yeah, don't ask for life to get easier. Ask for you to get better, because that is really what life is all about. Because as you grow and get bigger, your challenges just get bigger, right? And if you don't grow with your challenges, you're going to get smacked in the face, and then you're done like dinner, I always say. But if you're growing, it's like, oh yeah, why is that happening for me? Oh, I see. If I want to get here, I got to learn to deal with this.
Yeah, we've mentioned in the past, this business will tell you a lot about who you are as not only an entrepreneur, but as a business, I mean, as a person in general, going through the challenges and, like you said, facing the day-to-day responsibilities. It's going to tell you a lot about who you are. And the unfortunate reality is a lot of people figure out, like, maybe this isn't the right industry for you, which is okay. That's fine. It never hurt. You always want to be trying to grow, but I think the ones that are successful, like you said, have those traits and have those skill sets to be able to weather the storms and work on themselves and keep pursuing and never giving up. And I think that's important. So,
and every one of those skill sets are learnable. Like I wasn't born this way. I was a single mom when I was 16, earning minimum wage. You know what I mean? Like my first few years in my adult life, earning minimum wage. And, at one point, I still remember being told by family and friends who love me very much and were trying to look out for me, but telling me things like, Edna, you have to learn to live within your means. And me thinking, if I have to learn something, I should learn how to be rich, not learn how to live within my means. And, to this day, it actually drives me crazy when I see things on TikTok or Facebook where people are teaching you how to be frugal and coupon cut and save pennies and all this. And it's like, if you're going to study something and spend all that time, why wouldn't you study wealth, right? Why wouldn't you study wealth? And so that's what I chose to do. Very early on, I started thinking, I'm going to learn how to be rich. And you also don't get there without having that attitude. I'm going to learn how to be rich. And every single skill, sales skills, business analyst skills, business running skills, people skills, all comes because of what your goals are and what you want to get out of life. And you don't get rich by studying how to clip freaking coupons.
That is a true statement. So love that. That's such a great way to end our conversation. And that phenomenal concept. Conversation. I'm sorry, but yeah, just love this topic as well, and I think it's so important. So really appreciate you sharing that message. But Brian, anything else for Edna before we wrap up here?
No, I love your energy, Edna. Excited to see you continue to grow. Best of luck on your journey, and let's definitely stay in touch. And it's exciting to see you adding value to the real estate community. I encourage our listeners to reach out to you.
Okay, well, thanks so much, guys. It was my pleasure to, like I said, be hanging around with like-minded people on a Thursday morning. Absolutely love it. I enjoyed our conversation.
Well, likewise, Edna, but don't go anywhere just yet. We got a few more questions for you, and then we'll wrap it up. So, all right, Edna, so tell us, what do you like to do for your continued education to further your own investing?
You know what? Like I said, I'm always working with coaches. I have my biggest thing right now is I'm really focusing on growing my coaching program. So I'm working with a sales coach and a mindset coach. And that's really big. I'm studying a lot of spirituality stuff right now too. So I have 3 coaching sessions a week that I'm working on, and which also there's extra bonuses here and there, calls that get thrown in. So that's the number one thing that I'm focusing on. I have a lot of managing partners in our real estate world. Like I've been kind of the person who brings the money to the table over the years. And I've learned to stay in my lane and not, try to micromanage the managers. And so I look for key people who are really good at managing stuff and keep them in that position.
Awesome. Looking back at your journey, was there a moment of time or a particular event that changed the trajectory of your business?
Getting into the coaching was one. Like I said, it happened organically. It was never an original plan. Heck, the first time we met with our coach, we didn't even know which way we wanted to go. If we wanted to be the money partner or the active partner or lease options or wholesaling, we didn't even know. But I feel like everything in my life that I've ever done has brought me to this point where I'm coaching and training people. I love it more than anything. I still get to be involved in all kinds of deals, analyzing and negotiating and helping my students through all that. So I still get to be it's like kind of boots on the ground is what I say. But the fulfillment that comes from that is just wonderful. So again, that's my main focus right now.
Love it. Love it. What advice would you give to the listeners to help them grow their businesses?
Get around like-minded people. And that's first. You have to be around like-minded people who can see the future you, not the present you, because we've all been there, right? And then hire a coach. I just can't say enough about the wonderful coaches I've had over the years. And I've had many since 1999. That's a lot of coaches. And you can, and just know that it's all about growing yourself to be able to grow any kind of business. And a really key thing to ask yourself on an ongoing basis is, why is this happening for me? Not why is this happening to me? Why is this going wrong? It's why is this happening for me? Because if you can always go there and look for the positive in whatever you're going through, that's another huge growth opportunity for you.
Awesome. Great advice. Really appreciate that. And Brian, we're have to borrow that line from Ed to see the future you, not the present you. I like that one.
I love that. That's a t-shirt quote.
That sure is. It's exactly right. All right, Edna, well, tell the audience how they can get connected with you and learn more about you.
Best way to find me is on my website, ednakeep.com. I got lots of free training videos and stuff just to kind of see if we're a fit. And then, of course, if you do think it's a fit, what I do and how I help, there's a link there to book a strategy call with me or one of my team, and we'll take it from there.
Awesome. Well, Edna, thank you so much for tuning in with us today. It's been a great conversation. And like Brian said, we look forward to staying connected.
Yeah, absolutely. I do too.